Anybody who's been following my channel for quite some time might recognize this building right behind me here, because about a year and a half ago, this building just abruptly shut down. This is a condo here in North Bay Village, Florida, and as you can see, it is completely vacated and has been for the past year and a half. And as you can see by this sign over here, unsafe structure, do not enter. A lot of people that were living here just had to completely leave their life behind, so much so that you can even see there's still stuff in some of these places, guys. Like up here, for example, you can see that somebody still has stuff inside this room over there. They weren't able to get it all out. You know, there's some furniture sitting down here by this lobby area that people weren't able to get in time, because really people only had a few days to get out of here. It was very quick. And as you can see, it is still closed. And here's the problem. A lot of buildings in Florida could end up just like this with the current state of the condo market, with the way things are going right now, with all the new regulations that are dropping here in Florida. We could easily see more buildings end up like this one. Because as of right now, there's not really any penalties in place for not complying with the reserve laws or the structural reserve study, but this is the end game. If you don't do those things, you're gonna have an inspector come in one day and you're gonna end up like this, completely abandoned. Imagine all the people that used to live here. They're just like the fire victims. They got displaced pretty much overnight, right? And some of these people have mortgages to pay, there's HOA fees to pay, property taxes. You think they're off the hook for all that stuff? They probably still have to pay everything. Maybe not HOA fees, but I guarantee you, everybody here that has a mortgage is still paying that mortgage, and if they don't, they're getting foreclosed on. Anybody that's not paying their property taxes, they're gonna get foreclosed on. Sure, they may see a reduction in property taxes because the property is not inhabitable, but it's still an extra payment you have to make while living somewhere else, which a lot of people can't afford to do. And this is just one example, guys. I have seen several examples on the news since this happened of other buildings being vacated. I can take you guys past another one in South Beach that was actually condemned right around the same time and is still condemned. And why is the building still closed? Well, probably because the people that live here don't even have enough money to make the necessary repairs in order to reopen it. So likely this building will stay closed indefinitely until eventually a developer buys out all of the owners and probably knocks down this old building and builds a brand new one, kind of like the ones that surround it here. You know, right now, the Florida condo market is in free fall and prices may continue to drop due to this situation. You know, we've seen condo prices go down about 6% year over year here in Florida. Inventory levels are surging. We have a little over 8 months supply of condos here in Florida. So it's a tough time right now for any kind of condo seller. And it's not really that much better if you're a single family homeowner here in Florida either, because inventory has picked up substantially for those folks too. But if you're in the condo market, it's definitely worse. And you know, another reason you're gonna see a lot more buildings end up like that one back there is because of the rise in property taxes and insurance that I have been pounding to death here on this channel, because those fees have gone up so much for condo owners. It is insane. I have shared with you guys my personal information on this and just how much the fees have gone up and are going to continue to go up. If you missed that, check out this video. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can take a look. All these buildings now, if they're over 30 years old, it's mandatory to undergo a full inspection of the property. They need to do a structural integrity reserve study. And if they find out that the building has some major structural issues like the one we just looked at back there, guess what? You're done. You're out of commission. Not only that, but people are dealing with high special assessments. You know, my special assessment that recently came down, $54,000, guys. And you could say I'm one of the lucky ones, because some people have six-figure special assessments, $100,000, $150,000 or more sometimes. That's enough to bankrupt people. So before you get all excited and you see, wow, look at all these condos, they're getting cheap, maybe I should buy that second home or my little retirement spot in Florida, you better make sure you do your due diligence on the property before you make any offers, because you might be unpleasantly surprised to find out that that property could be the next one on the list and heading towards condemnation just like that one. You know, buyers are skeptical right now, but people aren't stupid. You know, there are still condos selling. It's not like no one is selling. I'm still seeing units that are priced properly that are selling, guys. You know, it just goes back to that same old rule of real estate, that if you price something properly, it will sell. The problem is a lot of these condo owners are still thinking it's 2022 and we have an inventory shortage, and you know, they own the hottest condo in Florida, which is not the case. Buyers are looking for buildings that are newer, or if it's older, they already are collecting full reserves, they already have assessments paid, they've been keeping up with the maintenance on the property. Those are the criteria that people are looking for. So if you own a condo in a building that doesn't meet that criteria, the value just significantly dropped. And this is becoming such a huge problem here in Florida that our governor, Ron DeSantis, he just called a special legislative session that's supposed to take place pretty soon here on January 27th. And this is supposed to address a series of issues which a lot of people are complaining that these new laws and regulations are not really attainable. They're not really achievable for the average condo owner. A lot of people don't have the money to pay for this stuff, is essentially what people are complaining about. Now, we don't know what's going to happen during this special legislative session, but basically they have two options. They can try to, you know, roll this back a little bit. They can try to make it a little bit easier on people, or they can just keep everything the way it is now and watch a bunch of people lose their homes, because that's exactly what's going to happen if they do nothing. However, they have to be careful, because, you know, making it too easy on people again and making it too simple for places to fall through the cracks is how we get building collapses like what happened in Surfside. Really, what this special legislature needs to do is they need to come up with a solution to the skyrocketing costs. Okay, like here in Miami-Dade, they've kind of come up with a Band-Aid solution, which I don't think is great. I guess it's better than nothing, where you can borrow up to 50 grand if your income qualifies you to pay for a big special assessment, and the money goes straight towards the condo. The owner never gets to touch that money. But the problem is now you're stuck with a 40-year loan and you repay it based on your income. And if 40 years goes by and you still haven't paid off that loan because your income's low, let's say, then you owe the lump sum in full after the time the 40 years is up. So how many other special assessments could come up throughout those 40 years? Are they going to keep offering this type of assistance and give you another loan and another loan? And at which point does it become unaffordable? How many loans can somebody juggle, especially if you're low income, right? I mean, it's an unsustainable thing. But if they do nothing, we could see as many as 1.5 million Florida condo owners being displaced due to the fact that either their building may end up condemned, like the one we looked at in the beginning, or because they simply can't afford the expenses and will be forced to sell their unit, which will contribute further to declining condo values. Governor DeSantis says that they have to do something. You know, we can't just sit here and let people be forced out of their homes, so we have to do something. Obviously, they can't roll everything back to where it was before, because that would be irresponsible as well. So they're going to have to come up with something in the middle. So it will be interesting to see what they end up doing. And honestly, if they do nothing, guys, this is going to cause probably one of the biggest exoduses of Florida of all time, or even possibly causing the homelessness to spike here due to how expensive this is. You know, I shared with you guys in a video how expensive this is for me. Some people have it worse, some people have it better, but it is still expensive. And to help you navigate this a little bit better, if you're somebody that is interested in buying a condo, because here's the thing, just because all this is happening doesn't mean that you can't still buy a condo today in 2025. Of course you can, but you just need to be a lot more diligent and careful than before. Really, people should have always been doing this diligence, but it was easier to let a lot of things slide. But now that so many new things have come to light and so many new problems have surfaced over the past few years, it's important to make sure you look out for these things. So number one thing is you have to be looking out for the HOA fees, okay? Last year, we had 41% of homes for sale on Realtor.com had some sort of HOA fee, which is up from 39% from the prior year. But if you're buying a condo, you're gonna have a condo association fee similar to an HOA fee. And you need to understand what all does this HOA or condo fee include. You can ask for an entire budget from the building, and that will give you an idea of everything that your condo fee includes. I know, like for example, one of the largest contributors to a high HOA fee in my building now is how much the insurance has gone up over the past few years. Like for example, 2022, we were only paying $400,000 a year for insurance on our building. Then in 2023, it jumped to $800,000 a year, double in just 1 year, okay? Then we were able to keep it stable for a couple years, but now into 2025, it is now $1 million a year. So it keeps going up, guys, and by large amount. You know, it has gone up 60% in the past 3 years. The only positive to this is that because the insurance is so high on the building itself, the insurance premiums for your actual individual unit are pretty low. So that's really the only benefit. So next thing you need to look at and ask about is, can your condo fees or HOA fees, if you're buying a house in an HOA community, can these fees go up? And the answer is likely yes, but by how much can it go up? You know, for example, these fees rose on average 9% last year for condos and 7% for single family homes that are in HOA communities. So again, one of the best ways to determine how much your HOA fees can and will go up into the future is look at not only the current budget, but look at the projected budget for the next year or two if that information is available, because that will give you a pretty clear indicator of how much more money that the association is going to have to spend next year and the year after that. And if you see a substantial jump coming, then that's a guarantee that your HOA or condo fees are going to go up. The biggest problem is when there is a wild card, whenever there is a surprise, which is a special assessment, something that people weren't expecting. Something happens and they find out the building does need a lot of structural work in order to stay livable, or there's damage from a storm that wasn't covered with insurance. Something like that can happen, and that can be a surprise expense that everybody has to foot the bill for. You also want to find out what are the restrictions when you're buying into one of these communities, because there are going to be some. There's going to be things that maybe you don't want to deal with, which is why a lot of people say never buy in an HOA, never buy a condo, because you don't want to be told what to do with their own property. Other people are completely in favor of this. In fact, the other night I was having dinner with some friends, and they said that they used to live next to the neighbor from hell, and it was not in an HOA, and they used to do all kinds of crazy things. They used to cause all kinds of noise and disruptions throughout all hours of the night, didn't care about the neighbors, right? And this happened for a good 20 plus years. And now they're gonna move to a brand new HOA community here in Florida, and they're happy. They're happy because there are going to be rules and regulations, and people like that won't be able to get away with that kind of stuff. So you need to decide what's going to be better for you, what kind of lifestyle and what kind of neighbors you want to have. Another thing you can do, which is something I've always encouraged people to do every time I've talked about buying condos and things like that in the past, is talking to the neighbors while you're there in the community and asking people, how well are things run? Are they happy with the situation? Are they planning on staying or leaving, and why? So that'll give you some key insights into what's going on with the building, because a lot of people aren't shy to talk about this stuff, especially if they're really happy about it or if they're not really happy about it. So either way, you're probably going to get some valuable intel. But here's the bottom line, guys. If you're going to move into any HOA community, I don't care if it's houses, townhouses, or a condo, you need to be prepared for a couple of things. You need to be prepared for the fact that you don't have 100% control or 100% say of everything that happens around the property, because there is an association managing everything, and you need to be okay with that, okay? And you also need to accept the risk that you have this fee that is continuous, and you don't know when it might go up or by how much, even if everything looks okay right now. You have to understand that's an extra responsibility and financial criteria you're taking on for this property, and things could go sideways on you. This can also happen when you buy a regular house without an HOA. So this shouldn't be a huge deterrent for people, because you can have something happen unexpectedly on a home that has no HOA and still have a big unexpected expense with that as well. And there are a lot of benefits to owning in an HOA. A lot of people like the fact that things are kept cleaner and tidier and they don't have to do as much maintenance or work around the house or around the building. You know, a lot of people like to have everything done for them and the convenience of that. Or one of my favorite things, for example, about living in a condo or a building, even though I don't really love living in general, there are a couple of things I do like. One of them is the fact that I can close up my place for the summer, you know, lock it all down, hurricane shutters, the whole 9 yards, and leave for the summer and not worry about it. You know, it's not easy to do that with a single family home sitting there. You got to worry about flooding. You got to worry about, you know, people breaking in and other kinds of things like that. With a condo, those concerns are not really top of mind. Also, I like having a front desk. You know, I like having somebody there 24 hours a day that can screen people who are coming in and out, which is important, but also somebody there to get packages when you're not home and not leaving stuff in front of your door and having people steal stuff. Those are just some small quality of life conveniences that I enjoy about living in a building. And I know we kind of talked a lot about the problems that we're having here in Florida with condos, but also recognize that this is a problem everywhere, guys. A lot of problems all over the country are having some major issues. In fact, one of my viewers has sent me many updates about a particular condo complex in Marina del Rey near Los Angeles, California. And this building is supposedly going to be taking out $36 million in debt in order to make seismic repairs to the building, okay? Another structural issue. So this can happen in areas outside of Florida. This is actually very dangerous because the seismic report for this building says that the towers may actually partially collapse if there's an earthquake in LA. On top of that, the building doesn't have earthquake insurance. So they are literally just a sitting duck right now and looking at spending $36 million to repair this building. And you have to hope that that $36 million is actually going to be sufficient to make those repairs, because oftentimes what happens, this is what happened in my building as well, the engineers go through everything, they start making repairs, and then as they start making the repairs, they start finding out that there's other problems. There's other things that need to be addressed as well, and then the bill can easily double overnight once they find new issues that need to be addressed. So this 36 million could easily balloon past 50 million or more if they find more problems at this place. And this should go without being said, but if you're looking at buying a condo, you need to steer clear of places like this that are looking at major assessments, major structural repairs especially. Just stay away from it, guys. No matter how good or enticing that deal may seem, I can promise you it's probably not worth it. And it doesn't mean stay away from every building that needs repairs, because every building is going to need repairs at some point, right? No matter how nice it is, no matter how quality the construction was, at some point the building is going to need to see maintenance. It's going to need to have repairs in order to keep it in good physical condition. So it doesn't mean stay away from buildings that need repairs altogether. Just make sure you fully understand the scope and the cost of what needs to be done. But you know, in general, the real estate market is completely overvalued right now. Even Wall Street is telling us this based on stock prices. Okay, because take a look at this. Shares of Invitation Homes and American Homes for Rent are trading at about a 35 and 20% discount to their net asset values. Well, what does that mean? It means that the average house that these companies own sells for about $415,000, but the share price implies that these houses and investors only think that the houses are actually worth about $310,000. So even Wall Street is basically calling a bluff on this housing market and saying, listen, these prices are not going to last forever. You are going to see prices correct and come down. Basically, these share prices are signaling that single-family home prices are too high and are not sustainable. Think about that. And we're talking about Wall Street here, where you know, the ultimate stock market bubble is taking place right now. Even they don't believe that home prices are going to continue going up forever. Now, of course, we could see prices stay higher for longer than anybody expected. That's already happening right now, I would argue. But that doesn't mean that situation can last forever. We're seeing the housing market at sales levels that we haven't seen since 30 years ago, even though the population is probably close to double since then, which means that less and less people can afford to purchase at today's prices, which means eventually the housing market is going to run out of eligible buyers. There's only so many people that have the cash to go around and purchase at today's prices. And once again, I'm not telling anybody not to buy. You can do whatever you want. This is not financial or investment advice, but I just hope everybody who is thinking about buying understands the risks in today's market, both when we're talking about from a price standpoint and what the future values could see, especially with the big demographic shift coming with so many baby boomers passing away and retiring, as well as all of the issues that condos are facing. So there's a lot of unknowns right now when it comes to buying any type of property. So you need to be pretty much more careful than ever if you're going to jump into the market. And if you're not careful, well, you could end up buying in a place like this. One final reminder that this is where it ends, guys. This is the worst case scenario for any condo owner or homeowner for that matter. You don't want to end up like this. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.